Yo, yo, yo. What's up,
Hey, what's up,
dude?
Matt?
Oh, no, I don't hear
Good,
you. Hold on.
thanks.
Let me make sure. All right. Say something.
Hello?
Oh, you're so quiet.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still really quiet. Let me see if that's me.
Hmm.
Say something now.
Am I quiet on the normal meetings?
Oh, no, you're not. That's better. I had this mic plugged in. I don't know if that was making a difference, but how do I sound?
Yeah, you sound good.
Awesome. Awesome. How's it going, man? Congrats on selling out the program.
Thanks. Yeah, feeling good.
That's what I like to hear. I appreciate you doing this. Hopefully this gets
Yeah,
someone
no.
excited to join.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Love all the progress you made. So we'll get into all that. So I'll do an intro and then we'll get right into it. Probably just have
All
people
right,
to
cool.
give yourself a little intro into it. But all right, everybody, welcome back to the Personal Trainer Business Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Allen. Today we got a special guest, David Lunn, all the way from Bermuda. What's up, David? How's it going?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm so good. So David is currently finishing up the final week of my program, which is also, as most of you know, the Personal Trainer Business Accelerator. And David's seen some great success. So I just wanted to have him on here to talk about that a little bit. And David, why don't you tell people kind of what you do?
Yeah, so I've been a personal trainer and CrossFit coach for I started out part-time 5 years ago, but I've been more full-time about 3 years. And yeah, my focus is on CrossFit movements, weightlifting, and mobility.
Nice. I love that. Love myself some CrossFit too. How did you first get into CrossFit?
So I grew up playing rugby and doing some triathlons. Then when I got into university, I took a break from rugby. I found I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I think I was putting too much pressure on myself, playing at quite a high level. But then I got into a bit of a funk without that exercise in my life. Um, so I started playing actually American football just for fun over in Ireland. And through that, a guy introduced me to weightlifting, who introduced me to CrossFit. And I remember watching like a video of Rich Froning and just thinking like, how can this guy do so many areas of fitness so well? Like that's so awesome. And then got into that, did my CrossFit level 1, started coaching part-time, did my CrossFit level 2, and yeah, the rest is history.
Nice. I love that. It's always Rich Froning getting us dragged into this. He's such a stud.
Yeah, I know. Especially, yeah, that was back in like 2014. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
peak of his powers.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So then what was the path like from there? You said level 1, level 2. Did you start part-time coaching? Did you go right into full-time coaching?
Yeah, so so I actually took a year break from university, and that's when I started coaching part-time, getting some experience. Then I went back, finished my degree for a year, and then after I finished university, I came back to Bermuda. I didn't really see personal training or CrossFit coaching as sort of a viable career path initially.
Been there.
So I was actually looking for a job in reinsurance, which is the main industry in Bermuda, but my heart just wasn't in it. So I was living at my grandma's house and she was like, David, you need to get a job, like you need to move out, uh, lovingly, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like half-heartedly like applying for these insurance jobs. And like if I did get an interview, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do this job. So first of all, I started lifeguarding full-time and kept up the part-time coaching. But lifeguarding is only for summer. So once summer was over, I needed something. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's try to pick up some more clients and try to make a living from coaching because that's what I enjoy the most. And then, yeah, when you reached out to me, that was probably yeah, about 3 years into full-time coaching and personal training.
Okay, nice. So get into that in a second. I'm curious, what'd you go to university for? What'd you study?
I actually studied philosophy, economics, politics, and sociology.
Okay, so you studied all of that. Then you move
Yeah.
back to Bermuda and you're trying to
Mhm.
get an insurance job when you really don't want that job, but grandma says to do it. And you really
Yeah.
just want to be a full-time trainer. And even still mixing that with some of the lifeguarding you've been doing. What were you doing anything in the winter?
For the lifeguarding,
Yeah. Was there anything, to supplement your income, or do things pick up in the winter
um,
with training?
no, no, not really. Uh, yeah, once the lifeguarding was done for the season, I was just doing the personal training. But one thing was I was getting health insurance through the lifeguarding, so during the winter I didn't have health insurance. But luckily nothing serious happened. So, but yeah, that was definitely a worry on my mind.
Just crossing your fingers. Yeah. When I left New York from engineering, I moved to Colorado to be a full-time personal trainer and was just crossing my fingers for a few years, hoping I didn't get seriously injured. And I was telling everyone, if I
Yeah,
do get injured, don't put me in an ambulance. Drive me to the hospital. I don't want to pay that ambulance fee.
I know. Yeah.
Not a great way to live. So
No.
so it sounds like summers you kind of bank up some cash from lifeguarding, and then hopefully that holds you through the winter and until you can start lifeguarding again.
Um, I wouldn't really save too much money from the lifeguarding. I was literally only doing it 1 or 2 days a week, and the deductions that they would take for the health insurance meant like there wasn't much of a paycheck afterwards.
Mm,
So I was literally, I mean, I do quite enjoy the lifeguarding too. So
yeah.
I was doing it for the enjoyment as well. But yeah, I was mostly from a financial perspective, it was for the health insurance, not for any additional income really.
Gotcha. So yeah, lifeguarding in Bermuda sounds pretty nice. Okay, so tell me a bit about that. Full-time personal training then. If you don't mind sharing, how much money are you making and what's life like? Because obviously you joined the PTBA for a reason, and that's where I'm leading to, of course. There's no secret
Mhm.
here. But I'm curious if you can kind of lay that out, what that looked like.
Yeah, sure. So my income was pretty variable. I'd say on average, I would make between like 800 to $1,200 a week. Um, and yeah, maybe for people living in the States, that sounds like a quite a lot of money for a personal trainer. And yeah, it's not bad, but in Bermuda is a much more expensive country. So yeah, everything over here is like double the price. So definitely doesn't that amount of money doesn't go as far over here. And so yeah, I found yeah, my income was quite inconsistent with like some clients traveling sometimes. So like when they were away, I wouldn't have as much. Um, and then yeah, I was coaching quite a lot of classes for not a lot of money. And even like doing like early mornings and stuff, which I wasn't really enjoying, and even working like so like I could start with like a 6 a.m. class and then I wouldn't finish until like 7 p.m. or something. And yeah, I'd have breaks in the middle, but like that was just pretty exhausting and like taking a toll for sure. Um, and yeah, I was coached. There's some people that I really enjoyed coaching, especially people who wanted to learn more advanced CrossFit skills like muscle ups, snatches, and also people wanting to improve their mobility. But then I had some other clients who were just kind of like, just wanted me to be there just to give them something to do and kind of like make sure they were doing it type thing. Who I wasn't as passionate about coaching, but I felt like I needed those clients to like pay the bills. Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate so much with this. Being at the gym from before sunrise to after sunset, especially in those winter months,
Yeah.
not getting paid enough for the classes. And then I think the biggest thing that some people don't realize how much of a toll it takes on you, those clients that you just take because you need clients. And I'm curious, because I know I did this. Did you ever like, maybe the session's coming up in 5 minutes and you're like, man, I really hope Jim doesn't show up today. I really don't want to do this session. Like, even though I need the money, I'd rather just not do it. Did you have any of those?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely have that sometimes. Yeah, and I actually, so when I first started, I didn't have like a cancellation policy, so I was like pretty lax on like if people didn't show up, like I wouldn't really charge them. But then I started having like a 12-hour cancellation policy. So yeah, pretty much they have to tell me the day before, otherwise they would have to pay for the session. Um, so yeah, if they hadn't told, yeah, even if they told me in advance and I wasn't getting paid, then I was sometimes like, yeah, oh yeah, such a relief. But then yeah, it was even better sometimes when like it was like last minute and they didn't have a good excuse because I knew I was still getting paid.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. How does it feel to like, I mean, doesn't that sound a little shitty? Not to say that you're a shitty person, because we've all done this. I think I've been there, but like, like I get into this industry to help people, and now I'm hoping they don't show up to their sessions, which I know I can help them and they need this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I guess because with some of my clients, I was literally just there to like write a workout on the board and then like cheer them on, which just didn't get me fired up. And yeah, it definitely does help them. But yeah, it's just not what gets me passionate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. And I think that's, well, so you tell me, like, so you're at this spot, not making enough, 8 to 1200, but divided by 2 in American dollars, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's a week. So yeah, again, so that's, still solid for some people out there, who are trying to make this full-time thing. And even going
Yeah.
back, I love what you said. Like, I never really thought this could be a full-time career. And then I reached out to you, and kind of, what were your thoughts when I reached out, and um, what were you looking for? Or were you looking for anything?
Mhm. Um, yeah, actually, during that time, I had contemplated switching careers, um, just to, yeah, make that extra income because, yeah, in Bermuda, like, I'd love to own a house someday, and house prices are so high here, and like, it'd be really difficult to get like a mortgage, or save up for a deposit on like what I was earning in the past. Um, and yeah, so if you do work in like reinsurance in Bermuda, like they pay a lot of money. And I knew like I was smart enough to do it, but I just, yeah, just didn't want to. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to be miserable. um, so I wasn't looking for, I guess, like a business coach because I was, yeah, I couldn't really imagine changing my how I was operating with my business to make that extra income. Um, yeah. So then when you reached out initially, I was thinking, oh, is this just like another spam type message? Um, but then I just found that you were just like really genuine and like offered lots of like free information and free advice. And then I started watching more of your stories and reading more of your posts, and I was like, wow, like Matt's a cool guy and his heart's definitely in the right place. And then yeah, you offered to do a call with me, and yeah, I said yes.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool. I appreciate all the kind words. We're done with the podcast. That's all I really needed here. No, I'm just
Okay.
I'm totally kidding. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know that could, right, we all get those spam messages, and it could come off like that, but and some
Hmm.
people are just there to spam, and it's hard to know who's genuine, but that's my attempt, is just to show up, because I've been there. I know what it's like to not make enough money. Like, I was making $25,000 a year, and it was stressful, and it was tough, and it put a strain on my relationships. And truthfully, I was happier. At least I was happier doing that than being in New York City, being an engineer. But it couldn't last forever. And that's,
Yeah.
when I know I needed a change. And I'm curious, you said like, I wasn't looking for a business coach because I couldn't imagine my business changing in any way. Where, just to be clear, like, okay, so you're doing group coaching classes, CrossFit classes, you said for too little money, and then you're selling personal training sessions. What do those personal training sessions look like at the time?
hmm Yeah. So I was probably coaching around 12 group classes a week. And at two different gyms. So one of the gyms was paying me 30 per class and the other was paying me 40 per class. And then, yeah, so I was just selling blocks of like 8 sessions for personal training. And again, depending on the gym and the location, they would be like $60 for 45 minutes or $80 for an hour, roughly like that.
How much did you
Um,
get to take home?
so at one of the gyms, I took home 75% of that.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, actually it depended whether they were a member of the gym or not. So if they were a member, then whatever they paid me, I got to keep. But if they weren't a member, then I had to give a percentage.
Okay.
But then the other one, I kept 60%. So yeah, whatever the person was paying, I would get 60% and 40% would go to the gym. Yeah.
Somewhere between like 40, $60 an hour.
Yeah. Depending, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also trained some people at their house. So at least I got to keep all the money, but then that involved more travel time in between. So I'm kind of losing out there to an extent.
Yeah. What you said you were selling packages. What did that look like?
Yeah, so I would normally sell like eight or 10. Yeah, for like, I guess whatever 8 times 60 or 8 times 80 is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just kind of like, yeah, I'm offering you like this amount of sessions at a time. There was no sort of like beginning and end type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that, did it vary on the client? Like one in-person session a week, or is it always 3 a week?
It varied. Yeah. Some of the got people who are looking more to improve their skills, like snatches and muscle ups. I would just do like one session a week with them. But then people who I guess wanted to like lose weight or just kind of stay in shape, I would do maybe 2 or 3 with them. Yeah.
So you sell someone, let's say 2 a week, you sell them 8, an 8-pack, that's 2 months. Did I do that right? That's 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month. Yeah.
How do you think that was like helping, 1 month for them to get to where they wanted to go?
Yeah, I would sit down with them before we started and ask like where they're at and what their goals are and stuff. But I guess with those clients in particular, they weren't very specific about what they wanted. It was just kind of quite vague, like, oh, I just want to stay in shape for life, and I want to maybe lose a bit of weight, sort of that sort of thing. And yeah, like I would see them for their sessions, but I wouldn't really support them outside of that. And yeah, like they would see some progress, like they would feel better, they would have more energy in the day, maybe lose some weight, maybe start lifting a little more. But yeah, I guess it wasn't really a transformation, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's something you wanted to provide, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a lot of things. So I'm just going to jump into it, and you can respond however you want to take this. But you joined the PTBA, and you've mentioned so many things, like just having that initial conversation, getting their goals, imagining that your business model couldn't really change, the price you were charging, the people you were working with, all these things. So however you want to take that, when you joined the PTBA, how did business change for you?
Mhm. So yeah, I guess one thing that immediately struck me was like finding that niche and finding those clients that I really enjoy working with, and trying to only train those people. So then I'm going to enjoy it more. I'm going to show up better for them. And then because I'm more passionate about it, they're probably going to enjoy it more as well.
Yeah, I think,
And then,
we could stick there for a second, because I think a lot of people, and I know I did when I first started my business, like really struggling to niche down, right? I can be everyone, and I don't want to limit myself to just these people. But, and it's funny too, because I would say you out of the whole group was kind of, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but kind of struggling with your niche and being like, who is this person? And, how what do I want to, specifically coach? How did you feel through that whole process? Were there some nerves and like, I'm not going to figure this out and I don't want to niche down or anything like that?
yeah, I definitely struggled with it. Um, I was definitely struggling to get more specific about certain aspects of who that niche client could be. And yeah, it was difficult. I felt kind of like a bit lost, like not sure where I'm going to go. But then once I was able to, well, the market research definitely helped. So I found a lot of the people who I enjoy coaching that I did market research with, they were struggling with the mobility. And then like a kind of light bulb went off and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I can focus on those people who are passionate about CrossFit or just passionate about going to the gym and their fitness, who are struggling with mobility and need that. And then once I found that niche and that idea for my program, that's when everything really started taking off, because I could really start to create this program and start to make more posts, more specific posts on Instagram. Whereas before I was just kind of like, what's my program even going to be? And like, what should I be posting on Instagram? Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's well, we don't just start with niching. We do a lot of mindset work and goal setting and stuff, but that's why we start with niche, because everything gets easier, right? It's hard to know what kind of program I'm building and what's my big offer without understanding who we're talking to. And yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
once you have that, the content gets easy. And even I think you would say the sales got easy as well. What are your feelings on coaching mobility?
Yeah, well, that was something I definitely struggled with when I first got into CrossFit. So playing rugby, I had I picked up a lot of injuries throughout playing rugby, and I definitely my mobility was pretty poor when I started CrossFit. So I've been constantly over the last 5-6 years trying to learn more about it, just so I could become a better CrossFitter and improve my snatch and get out of pain and all these things. And I really noticed how important it is, but then also how a lot of athletes don't really know what to do to improve it, or they know they should be doing it, but um, they would prefer to just keep doing the WODs rather than taking that time. Um, so yeah, I definitely, it's like I realized how important it was for me and how much it helped my journey as an athlete and passionate CrossFitter, and I wanted to share that with other people.
Yeah, I love that. This is actually teaser. I don't know when I'm putting this episode out. I think maybe this Friday. But so if you're listening, you can jump into what the rise of the fitness entrepreneur, my live training, and this is exactly what I'm focusing on. How easy it actually can be to niche down, and you said it beautifully. You're best positioned to help the person you once were, and you knew how much mobility or the lack thereof was holding you back. And so you started to learn about it, get better at it. And it really started to help you in your rugby career. And you can translate that story to how it can help your clients. If it's that passionate CrossFitter, or maybe still the person who's a bit older, but still into athletics, kind of like me. And when I play baseball and my knees kind of ache and I'm like, I should really, I know my knees hurt because my quads are tight and my hips are tight and all this stuff. I should really work on mobility. So, a lot of your messaging sits with me because, I know my mobility could help with that, and just talking about your story, and people are going to want to know, why should I trust you out of all these coaches? And you can tell that story of how you've been spending all this time learning about it all the way back, in your rugby career, and stories are huge. And not to get into that, not to get into a whole lot of coaching, but I love that it's something that you struggled with, really took the time to learn about, and any personal trainers listening can see that for themselves, right? Like where was I? What was I struggling with? Wow, now I'm at this point where I understand fitness, I understand nutrition, like I can help people with certain mindset blocks to help them achieve their goals. So I love that, and I would imagine you're excited to coach people in mobility now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I just know how big a difference it's going to make for them. Because yeah, mobility, I know CrossFit has their pyramid where
Mhm.
it's like nutrition at the bottom and then metabolic conditioning, then gymnastics, then weightlifting, then sport. But I think they totally missed mobility in there because if you don't have the mobility, then you're not going to be able to run or be able to weightlift or be able to do gymnastics. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they would, if Glassman was still around, if he would say like, yeah, well, that's part of fitness. Okay, yeah, you should be mobile, and being fit is being mobile. So maybe, but yeah, I think it needs to be kind of, highlighted a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's boring, right, David? Like you get this, you get this a lot in your sales calls. Like, it's boring. I'm not gonna have time for it. I don't want to do it. I just want to do the WOD and then I want to leave class. So
Mm.
how has that been as far as sales and convincing? No, convincing may not be the right word, but showing people that, well, this is what you need. And what's that conversation been like for getting people into your program?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I found probably some of the people who say they find mobility boring and they want to just keep working out and doing the WODs, they might have not even said yes to the sales call in the first place. So I might have sent out my offer stack and they were like, yeah, I know I need to work on it, but I really don't want to like take time away from doing the workouts. So yeah, I'm not really interested at the moment. And then yeah, I've had people on the opposite side of the spectrum who are like, their shoulders are hurting, their knees are hurting, they can't do an overhead squat, and they're like, please just help me. Like, so those sales calls were definitely easier. Um, and then yeah, I've had some people who have gotten on a sales call, and yeah, they say that, yeah, I'm just not super interested in it. But then what I ask them is like, how committed are you to reaching your fitness goals? And they're normally a 10 out of 10. But then I say, okay, well, how committed are you to reaching your mobility goals? And they might say, oh, I'm a 7. And then I'm like, okay, well, you're not really a 10 for your fitness goals if you're not a 10 for your mobility goals. And I found that really hits home for people. But then I also share how much joy it can bring opening up these new ranges of motion. Like you feel like a completely new person, and you probably haven't been able to move like that since you were a kid. So it's like rediscovering what your body's capable of. And I think that can get people excited about it as well.
I love that. I know that would resonate with me, like right when you say that. And we were talking about this on one of our calls where I'm like, I'm going for a run. I'm passing a park and I see these kids like jumping 10 feet off the slide and like landing on the wood chips. And I'm like, oh, I just look at them. I'm like, oh, that hurts my knees to look at. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm 31 and I'm old. Like, oh no. And it's just what you're saying. It's like, well, it actually, a lot of people say, I'm old. This is how it is. It's like, well, that's not true. You're just not really taking care of yourself the way you should be.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. And then I love the 7 out of 10, committed to mobility versus the 10 out of 10 committed to fitness. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't just come up with that. It kind of took doing a bunch of sales calls to be like, oh, this is genius. This is kind of going to get them to really think about how committed they really are. Would you say that's accurate? Doing more sales calls, getting better at that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so with some of the earlier sales calls, when people would come up with certain objections, it would kind of throw me off a little bit. And I would get through it and like try to think on my feet. But then as I did more and more sales calls, I could rely on that previous experience and think back to those objections. And even in the meantime, I can be like, oh yeah, on that call, like I didn't handle that part of the call so well. Like, how can I do better next time? So then I'm prepared for the next call.
That's awesome. And I think that's, part of what makes you world class and kind of transitioning into this world class business person as well is looking back on your past performance, right? It's the same thing you would do for a client. Like, oh, they didn't hit these weights. Let's adjust the next training cycle or maybe even the next week, right? Just going deeper into your business and looking about, what's working. Maybe it's your content, maybe it's the sales calls, and how can I improve? So that's so awesome. So I'm curious, inside of the PTBA in this program, the education's great, learning how to niche down, learning how to market and sell and all that stuff. What else outside of just the education you think made a big difference for you throughout these 90 days?
Well, I definitely want to shout out Taylor Sleaford and his mastermind calls that we would do every 2 weeks. Yeah, that definitely really helped me. It helped teach me how to love myself more and be more accepting. But then at the same time, come up with strategies of how to get myself out of those ruts if I am feeling down and struggling to work on my business.
Yeah, so you were in a few of those ruts, right? And kudos to you for being open and vulnerable, because I always say that my most successful clients are the ones who can open up, who can be vulnerable, and you've done a great job of that. And that's how I can show up better. That's how Taylor can show up better. And for those listening who haven't heard, Taylor, who's my best friend, we have our other podcast, Modern Happiness. But I bring him on to do those biweekly mindset mastermind calls where the whole group comes together and we just kind of work through shit. Because in our calls, we talk about business, and in Taylor's calls, it gives us an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper on, like you said, how do I love myself better? How do I show up better for myself, better for my clients? And so going back to one of the things you struggle with, which was like, I just find myself scrolling a lot, and like I want to work on the business. I want to work on the modules inside the PTBA and improve. And I just can't do it. And we worked through that a bit. And so what was the big change there? And how did you start to make progress?
Yeah, there was a couple of things. One of them was Taylor and yourself talking about those tiny habits. So one thing that helped me get on a bit of a roll was first thing in the morning, instead of just going on my phone and scrolling and then kind of getting sucked into that and then having negative energy to start the day, you suggested that I just go for a walk, and it could even be like a 1 minute walk, just like go outside, you know, walk 30 seconds one direction, walk 30 seconds back, and then see how you feel, and then make a decision on what you're going to do. And then also creating our higher self rocket ship that you talked about.
Mhm.
So it's basically a document where you post some pictures of people who inspire you and why they inspire you, what you admire about them. And then you also post some pictures that display a vision of what you want for your future. And you also have some mantras in there. So creating that and making that, and it's like a constant reminder of why you're doing what you're doing. And although you might not get instant gratification from putting in the work on your business, because it takes a long time for things to come to fruition, and that can just remind you about what you're doing it for and what's possible in the future.
Yeah, I love that. It's definitely a big energy shift when you go from rolling over and looking at your phone and seeing these people who you don't know, they look successful. They might not be, but that's what you see on Instagram, and you're like, well, why am I not like them? And then you start the day in this low energy, and oh, you're down here, and I'm struggling over right now, and my voice is getting lower and slower, and oh, that's not how you want to start your day. So starting your day off on the walk, starting your day with this, this higher self rocket ship, getting yourself in those good vibes and being like, I am the fucking man. I have, things to accomplish, goals to hit. I am a world-class coach, saying those mantras and getting hyped up for the day. And it's such a big shift. And I know, and you mentioned the tiny habits, right? We don't just go from 0 to 100. It's like, let's do 1, let's get to 2, 3, and start building off of that. And yeah, we use Slack, and you post in the wins channel, and you're like, all right, I did it. I went for the walk. I didn't look at my phone first thing in the morning, and that's it. That's the win. That's the big win of the day. Like, it doesn't have to be, I spent 3 hours watching the modules and creating my course and all this stuff. It's like, no, that's the big win. And we're going to go forward the next day doing the same thing, or maybe making another, walking for a minute longer. And yeah, and then, a week later, you're like, all right, I worked on my program, or I worked on the PTBA for 2 hours today. Right. And then we're just making those gradual shifts and really making a change. It was so awesome to see. So yeah, I love that. So speaking of having Taylor, the mindset stuff, super important. And I know, kind of telling my own story of always wanting to do a bit more. You're talking about it, right? Showing up for the training sessions and just being like a cheerleader, counting reps. And I think a lot of us fall into that. Yeah, we can help with form while we're there, but you help people and they get better, and you don't really need to help, comment on their form as much. And then you're like, well, now I'm just here holding them accountable. And well, now I can go in a different direction with this. I'm going to stay the path. But wanting more. And I was the same way. And I was like, well, now they leave fitness, and like, they need help with nutrition. Probably they need help with mobility, recovery. They need help with mindset. And, I had a few of my clients who just weren't really happy, with their lives. And I'm like, how can I help them? And I know this isn't the typical idea of what a personal trainer should be, but I want more, right? That's why I left New York to go to Colorado to be a personal trainer. I've always wanted a little bit more. And again, it sounds like you do too. And I talked with Taylor, and he mentioned you reached out to him and asked him to come on your program to help your clients kind of with their mindset work and with their happiness in daily life. So can you tell me a bit about that? And, what was the urge to reach out to Taylor to help you with that?
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, I had some clients mention that they feel like they might struggle working on their mobility because they find it boring, or they'd rather just spend their time doing other things. And then in a way that was somewhat similar to how I felt within the PTBA, especially early on, before I found that niche and I had that vision of what I wanted my program to be. I was like, yeah, I really want to work on my business, and I know watching Matt's videos and doing his worksheets is going to help. But yeah, I'm just really struggling to find that motivation. And then working with Taylor is what helped me create those better habits and create more consistency and get that work done. So I was like, yeah, Taylor can definitely do this exact same thing for the people in my course.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm so curious, like, what's the vision? So to give people an idea, you have an 8-week essentially mobility course. And well, I guess without going much deeper into that, like, what's the vision for the program? You're just starting out, right? And this is what we talk about, right? I teach the minimum viable offer. Let's get something out there. Let's start making sales. Then you can create this offer that gets someone point A to point B. And you have that within you. It doesn't have to be this big grand thing. But do you have a vision, already thinking about hiring Taylor? Do you have a vision for doing a bit more than just mobility? There's no wrong answer on it, and
Yeah.
maybe you haven't really thought about this yet, so I'm just kind of springing it on you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing that I really enjoyed in the PTBA was getting to know the other people in the group, and especially the wins channel, because I found, yeah, when I even so along with the tiny habits and the rocket ship, when I was in a bit of a rut, if I saw someone post in the wins channel that they made a sale, then I would be like, whoa, like if they can do it, I can do it. And I should just start working, and then it's going to happen for sure. So I can definitely see how, so I'm going to also implement that idea in my program, have a wins channel in Slack.
Love it.
So I can definitely envision how the people in my course sharing their wins with each other can create that positive momentum for people. And even that can have an impact on their mental health and on their motivation. And then that's just going to bleed into a lot of other areas. But yeah, that's a good question. I should think more about how else I can help people apart from just the mobility.
Yeah, because I mean, essentially, you have people in your sphere now. So again, this is fine. Starting out, you could do this for a year, and it could be great. But only because you said you've wanted to do more, and I'm just curious if that's ever crossed your mind. But yeah, I love that answer. And yeah, it's just starting small. Let's get a wins channel in, start lifting people up. On top of that, I love your mindset around that. Right? People might be. We talk about Instagram and comparison. People might be in this wins channel and go, so and so made another $2,000 sale, or oh my god, David's at $10,000. Like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, it's David's doing it, but I can't do it. Whereas you're looking at it and you're like, well, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. And I think that's such a great opportunity for you as a coach to show up inside your own program and let people know, like, hey, this is part of you being a leader, right? And seeing what's possible for you. This is not a place to be like, go in that downward spiral and be like, oh my God, they're doing it, I can't do it. It's that kind of abundance mindset. So I'm curious, did you start that way? Were you like in the wins channel, like, oh, this is great, oh, this is lifting me up? Or was there a comparison?
I think that I've definitely learned over the years to only try and compete with my former self. So rather than comparing myself to others, I'm as long as I'm making progress compared to how I used to be, then I'll be happy. So I'm grateful that I already had that mindset coming into the PTBA, but I definitely had to work on that. And I found, yeah. So for example, reading Ben Bergeron's book and following a lot of Ben Bergeron stuff definitely helped me with that.
Is that
Yeah.
Chasing Excellence?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't read that. I love Ben Bergeron, and I've fallen off my obsession with CrossFit a bit. So, but I've always wanted to read that. So I'll have to put it back on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great. I mean, that kind of goes back to, well, okay, before I get to that, I think it's such an important thing that maybe some personal trainers don't realize. It's like, well, I'm not a life coach. I'm not a mindset coach. It's like, well, you are, and you actually can help people with this. And you just saying what you said there, it's like, oh, I've realized that it's taken me a lot of work to stop comparing myself to other people, just compare myself to myself. And that's what I love about CrossFit too, because yeah, it's fun to compete against the person next to you, but ultimately you can only do better than you did yesterday. Or, if you're redoing a workout, how did I do on that workout 6 months ago? And I know for me, showing up at CrossFit, like really letting my ego go. And if I've had an injury or taken a week or two off, come back in and, oh, everyone's, heavy snatching. Like, I don't need to heavy snatch just because my friend is doing it there. And like, I don't need to impress him. And it's only going to hurt me probably. And I'm probably going to get injured. So let's come back into this slowly. But yeah, that didn't happen overnight. So see, that's exactly what you said. You've learned that through years of doing CrossFit, and probably you can even go back further into school and all that stuff and how you've been learning this all along the way. And this is a great opportunity for you to show up. And when you have your coaching calls, ask those questions, right? And be like, what did I do? What conversations was I having with myself so that I could get to a point where I'm no longer comparing? And to see that, yeah, as a personal trainer, you are a life coach, really, and you do have it in you to help people with that. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's awesome. So I wanted to ask, with kind of circling back to the self-love, can you tell me a bit more about that? What does it feel like to kind of love yourself a bit more? That was actually something you said in one of our first calls that you wanted to work on and improve, and you seem to be at a place where you're there. What does it look like to love yourself, and how has that affected the rest of your life?
Hmm. Yeah. Another thing I picked up from Ben Bergeron was, imagine if the voice inside your head was broadcast to everyone around so they could hear it. Would you be proud of what that voice was saying? And yeah,
That's good. That's good.
yeah,
Right.
it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another thing that struck home with me was how we can be so kind and understanding to other people, but we really struggle to give ourselves the same understanding and kindness. And I think I kind of lost sight of those things before I joined the PTBA. I guess I've gone through periods in my life where I've worked on my mindset and my self-care and that type of thing, but it had definitely fallen by the wayside before I started the PTBA. And then working with you and working with Taylor, and even learning from the other personal trainers in the course, brought a lot of these things back to the surface and even gave me some new ideas. And yeah, I find if I am, say, scrolling on my phone, I try not to feel so guilty about it and say, like, it's okay. Like, instead of getting upset about yourself, like, just take a little bit of time and then take a few deep breaths and then start working on something else, instead of saying, oh man, like, you're such a shitty person for like scrolling on your phone and wasting all this time. Yeah. And then that's obviously not gonna make you want to stop doing it. You're probably just gonna want to do it even more just to distract yourself from how you're feeling. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. It's that awareness and noticing, okay, I'm scrolling, and that's okay. Right. And it's exactly how you would talk to your clients if you had somebody. I always kind of use this example because it's kind of easiest, but it's like Friday night. Oh, I had beers and a crappy dinner, like a pizza. I ate a bunch of pizza. Well, the weekend's ruined. And what would you tell your client if that happened? No, you have an opportunity to, have a good breakfast, have a good lunch on Saturday, and a good dinner. Like, it's not over until Monday. Same thing for you, right? Okay, I notice what I'm doing. That's okay. It's fine. Everyone's scrolling. Everyone does this. Now, what do I really want? All right, I want to work on my business. Oh, but that's hard. It's kind of like you talked about, like, okay, how can we change this environment? Let's go for a walk. Let's, I don't know, do 20 burpees. Let's change the body chemistry. And then, am I feeling better? Yeah, I feel more motivated. All right, let's get to work. Or is it like, I just want to sit here and scroll. I've been working hard and I just want to do nothing for a little bit. Just kind of having that honest conversation with yourself. But truly being honest, of course. But
Mhm.
but I love that. Kind of going back to the self-love is just, having more understanding with yourself. And that's allowed you to just show up a bit better for yourself and go after what you really want. That's
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
That's great. So, all right, what everybody wants to know, the sexy stuff. You were selling your mobility program for $1,000. You got a big goal. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I guess initially I wanted to, so working back from the goals that we set out at the start of the PTBA, I wanted that 100K year. So then I worked from there what I need to make with each launch in order to reach that goal. But you also mentioned that, this is your first launch, so from here it can grow from there. So initially I wanted to make 20 grand with my launch, But then I changed to making, yeah, five figures.
Mm-hmm.
And also, yeah, just to film my program. And I filled it yesterday officially. Yeah. And yeah, I made,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. And yeah, so I made $11,800 from this first launch.
Let's fucking go. That's so awesome. You got to be so proud of yourself. And I love how it was unprompted for you to just talk about the numbers, right? I say, know your numbers. It's so important. I want to make X amount, but we have no idea how we're getting there. And you just took that 100,000 and worked backwards. And yeah, the important thing is $100,000. If I run my launch 4 times, it's not going to be 25,000, 25,000, 25,000, right? You want to grow. And so it might be, like you said, maybe it's just the 5 figures, 10,000. Then we do 20, then we do 30, then we do 50. I think I nailed that math. But I love that. Yeah. $11,800. And basically you've been selling for what, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, probably around 3. And I even have, like, I've had people reaching out and I'm like, yeah, my program's full now. So I hope, yeah, already have that interest, hopefully for next time.
Yeah. How good does that feel? You're full and now you're turning people away. Would you have ever thought that was possible?
I definitely didn't think that was possible. Yeah, initially I was like, man, how am I going to get 12 people? But then, yeah, I had my lead tracking spreadsheet and I reached out to so many people, just asking permission to send them my offer stack. And then from there, asking permission to have a discovery call with them. And yeah, well, I mean, I had a really high close rate, thankfully. So that definitely helped. And that made me think, maybe I could have like charged a bit more money, because
Mhm.
if everyone's saying yes, then yeah, maybe I could have like made even more. But no, I'm definitely, I mean, it's my first launch. So yeah, definitely happy.
Yeah. I mean, what a great place to be, right? And if you stick to the goal of 12 people next round, but you charge a little bit more, right? Or you stay the same and take on more people, and there's room to play with this. But just
Mm.
listening to you talk, you've really embodied everything that I've taught, and asking for permission and not feeling like, did you ever feel like scummy on the sales calls, or scummy asking people to get on a call, or any of that?
No, because like you said, we're asking for permission. So in the end, they're actually asking for our help rather than us like trying to force something on them. And then, yeah, at the same time, I know how much I can help people. So I know that them making this investment is going to be good for them.
Yeah, I love it. That's how, I mean, you, like I said, you embodied everything really. And sorry, someone jumped into the Zoom, so I got distracted. Um, but you're coachable, and you've done all the things, with the, even going down to just, we have the sales script, but it's a script because that's kind of how I learn. It's visual, you can read it and then you adapt it. But really it's more of a framework of how you talk to people and how you get them to understand, like, hey, I can help you. And to not be like begging for sales, but just to be like, asking those good questions and being like, understanding that, like, this is what you need. And you've done all those things, and it's so awesome to see. And I think that's why sales have been easy for you, um, because you've done the things. You truly show up with love and with your heart, and that you can help people, and that's why you're here. You're not here to take money, or to just make a quick buck, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm like, people are paying $1,000 for this program. Like, I'm gonna serve the hell out of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a good place to finish, right? So you had this whole business model. You didn't think it could be any different, and now you've sold your program to 12 people. You've made almost $12,000. How do you feel now showing up? If we go back to the niche, showing up for clients that you love, that you can help, you're making what you're worth. They're financially committed. How do you feel like this You're about to start. Did you start? You didn't start your program yet, right?
Starts tomorrow night.
Okay, awesome. So you're about to go into this 8-week program with these people. How do you feel going into that?
Yeah, I feel excited. Yeah, I feel excited about creating this community. Whereas before I was coaching individuals and there was my relationship with the person I was coaching, but now I'm excited for them getting to know each other within the group and helping each other. And then also I'm excited for having more contact time with them. So rather than just seeing them once a week in a one-on-one session, they're going to be asking me questions in Slack and learning from each other in Slack. And I'm going to have also group calls with them all together. So yeah, I'm excited, like I said, for that community element to it, kind of like we're all in this together and we're all going to help each other get to where we want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so great. I'm curious. I wonder if some people have hesitation, like I can't provide results completely online. And I wonder what your comment would be to that, or if you have any hesitation with that.
Yeah, so because most of the sales I made are in Bermuda, I am going to be working with a lot of them in person, but then also all our group calls and group sessions are going to be online. And yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think there there won't be a huge difference or even any difference between working with someone online and working with them in person, because I can still see their body, see their joints, assess their joints um, virtually, and give them the feedback and exercises that they need. And then at the same time, online's almost even better because of all that extra contact and support that they're going to receive.
Nice. Yeah, it's great. I love that. And I agree. I don't think it's, you maybe lose the tactile cues, touching people when it's appropriate, obviously. But yeah, you can give the same sort of service from online, and like you said, potentially better because there's more contact, there's more support, and that's ultimately what people really need. Because anyone can Google the workout or Google a nutrition plan, but people really need that support. And I think you would say, like in the PTBA, that was a big part of it, having that support. Whereas it's just like, hey, here's a business structure and watch the videos and good luck, right? That probably wouldn't have helped too much. Sweet. So with all this, it's my final kind of wrap it up question, because I could keep asking questions. I love talking with you, but how is life now? You've made about $12,000. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel a lot more excited and a lot more hopeful. So I can, yeah, this is my first launch and it was successful, but I'm almost even more excited for my next launch. And whereas before I was like, okay, I'm making this much money a month, and it was kind of like, that's just what I'm going to be making for as long as I'm a personal trainer. Now I can see the potential of the business to like grow and grow and grow and add more offerings to it, and try and retain clients in some way after they're finished with the program and continue supporting them. And yeah, it reminded me of when I first finished university. I started working at a very small gym in Ireland before I moved back to Bermuda. And the gym owner basically told me, yeah, like me and you can work together and we can grow this into a really successful box. And I was like super excited about that possibility. And I put so much work in. And like I made the website for the gym. I was getting on sales calls for the gym. I was coaching most of the classes, but then he was just paying me an hourly rate for my work. And there was even a lot of work I was doing that wasn't getting paid. Whereas now I have that excitement back about building a business, but I'm doing it for myself and I'm getting to reap the rewards of it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's
That's
really cool.
awesome. Oh man, we didn't even talk about the whole hourly rate thing, but that's okay. We'll leave that. But I love that, and you're really focused on business. And David, I'm curious, what about life? What about life outside business? How is that going to change for you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be able to afford to take more time off. So as you know,
Woo, how good does
I love
that feel?
surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels really nice. It's like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm.
And even I know that even if I am traveling, I can still be serving my clients because it's online and still be earning an income. And yeah, so I definitely feel more hopeful, more freedom, and more relief and more confidence. Yeah, a lot of good feelings.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so beautiful. Definitely, I said this to you in Slack, but celebrate yourself. I don't know if you drink, but even just get a bottle of champagne, spray it everywhere, and then it'll be empty by the time you don't even have to drink it. Or buy yourself a new surfboard, buy
Yeah.
that trip to LA and surf, or come to Colorado, hang out with me. Do you snowboard? Teach you how to snowboard.
No, but I definitely want to learn. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
done a little bit of skiing, but yeah, snowboarding looks fun.
nice. Yeah. So, but yeah, very important. Make sure you celebrate yourself and take it in, because I think we miss that sometimes. And that's obviously the importance of having that wind channel, like we talked about. But remembering, you're gonna have this $12,000 launch, and then it's gonna be like, okay, let's serve my clients, and then what's next? Oh, it's $20,000 this time, and then you kind of get lost in this whole like, what's next, what's next, what's next, and forgetting about like, wow, before I had no idea where the direction of my business was. $800 to $1,200 a week, unsure of if my client's going to go on vacation, then I'll lose that income, and it's all this stress and never having the time to surf and just enjoy yourself. And it's like, wow, look at how far you've come. You have a lot of clarity on your business now, and you've hit this big, 5-figure month, and that's so awesome. So don't forget to celebrate yourself. And if you're listening out there, don't forget to celebrate yourself and how far you've come, from even just a year ago or even just a few months ago, right? So, David, congratulations again. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Is there any last words? Is there anything you would say to someone who's considering joining the PTBA?
Yeah, I would say go for it, especially people who are confident in their abilities as a coach and they really know how to help people and they've got some good experience as a personal trainer, but they really aren't so sure about the marketing side or the sales side or even mindset side. And yeah, if you can't imagine, I guess, how your business can be different or how you can grow your income and grow your business, um, then definitely go for it. And yeah, like the biggest thing that hits home for me is like I've made pretty much 4 times what I invested in the program. So from that aspect, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the goal, right? I have people who are worried
Mhm.
about the investment. I'm like, well, it's an investment. Like my goal is to have you succeed, and that's what I told you at the being or at our original call. I'm like, I'm obsessed with my clients. I'm here to help you succeed, and I'll do what it takes to make sure that happens and make sure you're on a good path. And there's also ownership too, right? You got to do the things. Your clients, you can't do the push-ups for your clients, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink the water. So, if this is something you're like, I'm ready for a change and you're committed, this is the place to be. And you really showed that. So, once again, thank you so much for joining. Any final words?
Definitely a big thank you to yourself and a thank you to Taylor. And thank you to all the other personal trainers in the program. Yeah. And I'm super excited to continue the work and continue growing and supporting each other. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to watch you grow and see where everything goes for you. And I'm excited to see you out here in Colorado. I'll teach you how to snowboard, and Maybe you could teach me how to surf out in California.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. Thanks so much, David. And thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, peace out. Dude, that was awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really was a pleasure coaching with you. And we still got this final week left. I will see you tomorrow morning. But thanks again so much for doing this. This is great.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
Awesome. All right, I'll let you go.
Okay.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you.